All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the virtual tour of intentional communities. We're here for another month of learning and exploring different models of community living. And this is our September 2024 edition of the virtual tour or the Meet the Communities session. So, really glad that you all are here. Hello, my name is Cynthia. I'm the host of this program. And normally I am calling in from Vermont, where I live in an intentional community. But actually, this week, I have the great pleasure of being able to lead a tour of intentional communities throughout the state of Virginia. So, right now, I'm in southwestern Virginia, and today we are touring a community called Elder Spirit, which is a co-housing community that's 55 plus and also has a spiritual intention. So it's very nice to be in this world of communities. We were just at the communities conference at Twin Oaks over Labor Day weekend, and now I'm here with all of you doing this virtual presentation of communities. So I feel very steeped in the movement right now as it is. And we'll get started with our program. I'm going to share my screen and just share a little bit of an introduction before we go into the presentations. So once again, if you're just joining, this is the virtual tour of Intentional Communities event. We do it every month on the first Thursday at this time, about 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you're online during that time and want to join us, we welcome that. Also, we welcome if you want to sign up and register for this event at ic.org or join one of our membership programs where you get automatic access to it. And today's event is all about Canadian communities. So we're going to be hearing from OUR Eco Village, as well as Treehouse Village Eco Housing. So those are the two communities, and they're kind of on opposite sides of Canada. So that'll be really interesting to get a sense for the different sides of the coast and what's happening with community living. They're also pretty different models of community. So I'm interested in comparing and contrasting. All right. So, as I mentioned, this is an event that's being hosted on StreamYard. So if you have registered for this event, that means you have the ability to comment and ask questions, and we do prioritize your comments and questions. Although I know we are also streaming on many different platforms, so hi to all the folks that are watching us on social media. Really encourage your comments. This is intended to be a conversation, so please use this as an opportunity to engage with myself and the presenter and also with each other. This is a big way where our wider community of communities gets together every month. So that said, I would love if you could take a moment to introduce yourself. If you could share, where are you calling in from? If you live in an intentional community, let us know which one. And also, what do you hope to learn or get out of this session? And especially if you live in an intentional community and you think you might want to be a presenter, I encourage you to leave me a little special note about that, and I'll get in touch with you over email. Actually, I think that's how Terry and I connected. One of our presenters today was participating on this call like you are, and is like, oh, I live in a community. Let me sign up as a presenter. I really appreciate that. Okay, so while you're typing, I'm going to share with you a few other things about the program. All of our past virtual tours going back the last 2 years is all available on the YouTube channel of the Foundation for Intentional Community. So it's a tremendous archive of content as well as other content that they have on the YouTube channel. This event is a co-production of a few organizations. We have, of course, the Foundation for Intentional Community at ic.org. an incredible nonprofit organization that's been around for decades, really supporting the movement with the online communities directory, lots of books, courses, events. A lot of this done by donation and by volunteer effort. So if you feel inspired to donate, they always appreciate a little encouragement. ic.org/donate is the link for that. And then we have an organization that I started and helped to run, which is communityfinders.com. And hello, especially to the folks that are part of our Community Finders Circle. This is a membership program for people who are on the hunt for an existing community that they can join. And lastly, I had mentioned at the start of our event today that I am on this tour visiting communities throughout Virginia, and I'm doing that through an organization called Eco Village Tours. EcoVillageTours.com. We offer small group immersive journeys to intentional communities all around the world. This winter, we're going to Costa Rica and Hawaii and India. So a lot of great opportunities. Nothing beats putting your feet on the ground and actually feeling what it's like to be in one of these places. But I like to think that these virtual tour events are like the next best thing. So really glad that we're able to do this event. And yeah, we'll get into it shortly. So take a moment. If you have some distractions around you, put them aside, maybe grab something to drink. It's helpful to have a notebook. And yeah, just sort of center yourself, arrive, relax, and prepare to give your full attention to our presenters. So we are going to start here with Terry from Treehouse Village Eco Housing. And I think Brandy is having some technical difficulties with joining. So I'll actually have Brandy go after Terry. Hopefully she'll be able to join us. But I'm really excited to learn about Treehouse Community. I don't know so much about it. I know it's based in Nova Scotia, which is just such a beautiful part of the world. So Terry has offered to actually give us a walking tour. You know, sometimes we do these events and you just get the presentation, but Terry's like, I want to take you around and show you the community. So welcome, Terry.
Thanks, Cynthia, and thanks for allowing us to participate. You mentioned that we're in Nova Scotia, one of Canada's most beautiful provinces. Well, we're located in the most beautiful part of Nova Scotia, which is the South Shore, which is about an hour's drive south of Halifax. Beautiful beaches, and it's just a wonderful place to be. Anyway, I'm Terry Lavender. I live here at Treehouse Village Eco Housing, which is Atlantic Canada's first co-housing community. And we're relatively new. Our first members just started moving in last August, and we just got our common house up and running about a month or so ago, and we just have one unit left for sale. Almost everybody else has moved in. My partner and I, for example, we moved here from Vancouver about a year ago. We're a very diverse community. You mentioned earlier that you're giving a tour of a seniors only community, 55 plus. Well, our ages range from 8 months to 80 years, and we have 52 adults and 15 children. Today it's a bit quiet because the kids are at school for the first time, and it's been really bustling over the summer, and it's been great seeing them playing in the common green. Our people come here from everywhere in Canada, from across Nova Scotia, across Canada. As I said, we're from Vancouver, even from the United States and Europe, and one woman from Colombia. We speak a variety of different languages here, and we're a very diverse community. We have 30 units. They range in size from studio apartments to 3 bedrooms, and we also have a 4,000 square foot common house, which I mentioned earlier, plus a workshop. We're located on 15 acres, including 11 acres of undisturbed forest. And we just have one unit left for sale, and I am in that unit right now. And I'll give you a brief look at it. this shows what one of our units look like. They're very bright and very spacious, but enough of the real estate tour. Okay. Intentional communities and co-housing communities for a governing structure. We have circles responsible for external maintenance, governance, operations, and common spaces. But that's enough talking. As Cynthia mentioned, yeah.
Oh, you cut out for a moment. So if you could repeat what you shared before, and also just talk slower if at all possible, just so we can make sure everyone hears you clearly.
Of course. Yeah. I was saying that we use sociocracy for our governance structure. We have circles responsible for external maintenance, for governance, for condo operations, and for common spaces. But now I'd like to take you on a outside tour of our community. So just fasten your seatbelts and let's go for a walk around.
Excited.
This down here is our common green. Right there is what we call our pop-up bistro, where people often go to have a coffee and just chat with others, or people who have impromptu meals there and all that. Over there, you can see some of the units. We have our 30 units are in 4 different buildings on each on two with 2 stories. As you can see, we have a walkway that connects the buildings. And we have clotheslines, as you can see there. Somebody's hanging out their clothes.
I hear the sounds of little children.
Yes, you're about to meet one of our little children. As I say, this is our first year here, and we've already started to grow vegetables. We have squash, we have tomatoes, we have kale, we have chard and all sorts of things. There's one of our residents just coming back with her laundry. And here we can see some of the kids. One of them's playing on stilts. A couple of others are just walking in the common green. And one of our other residents is airing out her camping stuff.
Wow!
And that particular resident is Kate DeVried, who is one of our burning souls, one of our founders. And here's a family that has the newest member of Treehouse Village, little Sasha, who's just 8 months old. You can see his stroller there. And back there, you can see our forest. And here is a children's play structure. And this is what we're really proud of. It's our common house. It's, as I say, it's 4,000 square feet. It's got a dining room. It's got a common kitchen. It's got.
Oh, wow.
Here's the dining room.
Wow.
One of the interesting things about it is that 2 of our members are in the construction trade, and they donated a lot of their time to help build all of this and to design it. The kitchen has been used for common meals for about a month now, and it's been very successful. We're having another common meal tomorrow night, and I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be stuffed sweet potatoes. And now we're going upstairs to what we call the nest, where we have circle meetings, and we also have social get-togethers and impromptu sessions, and people can just hang out, or they can use it for remote working. And right now, what's going on is our craft and chat session, which takes place every first and third Thursdays. And you can see some of our community members are here. They're sharing some tasty snacks and just doing crafts, and they're chatting. Would folks like to say hello?
Would you like the cookies?
Hello.
Oh, thank you. I've just been offered a cookie.
Thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, you're working hard. You deserve it.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. And one of the nice things about the nest is the beautiful view. As you can see, you can see the forest and the trees, and we often get deer grazing there in the morning and the early evening, so it's very peaceful. And out here you can see our workshop. It is covered with solar panels, as are all our buildings. In fact, we're getting to the point where we can sell power back to Nova Scotia Power, so that we will be very sustainable. And I'll wrap up the tour by going downstairs to show our fitness facilities, and then we can sit back and maybe answer some questions. Oh, another thing that I'd like to mention is that we're very accessible. For those people who have mobility problems, we have an elevator that goes up to the top floor of the common house, and from there, people can get to their own units. The common house also includes 2 guest suites, which members can reserve for their family and friends when they come to visit. We have an exercise studio. We have the blue guest room, and we have the green guest room.
Easy.
And they're very cozy. And that's about it for the tour. And if the other presenter from our Eco Village isn't here yet, I am happy to answer any questions.
Okay, yeah, great. Thank you, Terry. Yeah, it looks like Brandy is here, so maybe I'll just bring Brandy onto the stage, but I think we also want to give a little time to ask questions for Terry. Hi, Brandy, welcome. Glad that it worked. Yeah, okay. Good to see you. So yeah, Terry, thank you so much for showing us around. That was a very beautiful tour. That just warmed my heart to see the children and the woman up in the common house and the beautiful spaces you've made. It looks like a wonderful community. So yeah,
Thank
just
you.
congratulations on all of it. Were you part of the team that was founding the community?
Not really. We came in towards the end of the original 30 households. It's Kate and the others started it in 2018. We didn't join until 2021. But I've been Sharon and I have been actively involved since then, though.
Okay, amazing. And you said that you have 1 unit left, is that right?
Yes, we have that 1 unit left, which is where I started this presentation in. And if anyone is interested in it, treehousevillage.ca.
Okay, great. More information there. We do have some questions. So I know you had mentioned you have members from across Canada. I'm curious if you have international members, and also we're specifically wondering about people from maybe the United States moving to Canada to join your community. What would that look like for them?
We have a few members who have moved here from the United States. In fact, I think 3 or 4 households, but they didn't. None of them moved here directly. They moved to Nova Scotia first, and then to Treehouse. But we've had some interest from people in the United States, but we've had no one move directly here.
Okay, but that is conceivable that somebody could do that. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, great. And you had mentioned using sociocracy for your decision making.
That's
That's
right.
something you've been using all along. How is that going for you?
It works really well. We've find that sociocracy allows people to participate. Nobody dominates the conversation. Everybody gets a chance to be heard. And unlike consensus, there's no paralysis. Eventually decisions do get made. Not everybody might be completely happy with it, but everybody feels satisfied that they've been heard. So and it's still going very, very, very well. And we're adapting our circles as we move from the development stage to the living in stage.
Okay, great. I'm glad that's going well for you.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are watching and listening, I definitely encourage any questions that you have for Terry. Feel free to put them in the chat. I also want to appreciate Neil for sharing with us this link about sociocracy. So if you're curious to learn more, what is sociocracy? How is it different than consensus or other forms of decision making? There's a great organization called Sociocracy for All. So sociocracyforall.org. They have all kinds of books and courses. And I'll also put up the website for Treehouse Village, treehousevillage.ca, if you want to learn more about this community and maybe consider a move to Canada if you're not Canadian, maybe consider a move into community. And Terry, go ahead. Were you going to share something?
Yeah. I was just going to give another plug. One of my roles is that I host tours of the place. If you want a tour of Treehouse and you're ever in Nova Scotia, just go to that address and you can book a tour, and I'll be happy to show you around the place.
Oh, great. Fantastic. So you can, if any of you want to do what we just did in a much longer in-person form, that's great that you're available for that. And Patty shares with us, Tree love the gardens and kids spaces, the clotheslines, the solar panels. So that's all great. Oh, and I think Brandy just dropped off. I saw her there for a moment. Hopefully she'll come back on. So I wonder, Terry, how, so are you one of the newer communities in Canada since you've so recently been developed?
Yeah, we are one of the newest communities in Canada. I know that there are others that are forming, but we're the latest one to actually come into existence. Yes.
Oh, great. Are you familiar with other or connected with other communities in your region? I'm not sure how many there are in Nova Scotia, actually.
We're the only one so far. I know that there are a couple that are in the forming stages, and there's one in Newfoundland that's I believe has purchased land, but they haven't moved in yet. But so far, we're the only ones that are active at the moment in Atlantic Canada.
Gotcha. What drew you to want to live in community? I'm curious a little bit about your story, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing. It was my partner who sort of provided the impetus. But both of us have long been involved in community housing, and we've lived in an equity co-op before. But the thought of living in a community where we know our neighbors, where we share things in common, after years of living in an apartment building where we didn't know our neighbors, it just seems so attractive. And to know that there's the support there and the friendship and the warmth, it's great.
Yes, good. And we have a question from the audience. Yana is asking, what kind of employment is available in the area?
Well, a lot of our members work remotely. A couple are teachers. The main employer here in Bridgewater is the Michelin tire plant, but of course there's also tourism is very prevalent in this area. There's a lot of different types of schools and service industry. There is also a hospital, so there's healthcare opportunities, and there's a community college.
Oh, nice. Good. Good. You have great answers for all these questions. I have one more for you. One more question.
Okay.
Why are you called Treehouse Village? I didn't see any tree houses. Elizabeth, good question.
Good question. We're called Treehouse Village because we're located in a forest, and we have houses that are located in this forest, and it's quite possible that some of the kids may build tree houses in the future. We certainly hope so.
Okay. I think that needs to be a requirement.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
so too.
Beautiful. And thank you, everyone who's putting all these resources in the chat. We have a resource here if you're curious. The Canadian Co-Housing Network has a directory of co-housing communities across Canada, cohousing.ca, for anyone who's interested in that. Great resources. Okay. All right, good. Well, thank you so much, Terry. And I think now we'll move from Nova Scotia and we'll travel all the way across the country to OUR Eco Village on Vancouver Island in British Columbia. We have Brandy Gallagher here with us. Hi, Brandy. Great to see you.
Hi, and I'm glad you can see me. I realize it's our cell tower is not getting us Wi-Fi, so I've moved locations and I couldn't get on. I thought it was I was learning the platform of SteamYard, but it's actually our reception. So let's see how we do. Do I have 10 minutes? Is that?
Yeah, you do. And we're just two presenters today, so it's okay if you go a little beyond that. Perfectly.
Okay, great. And thank you. I feel really honored to be able to come in from OUR Eco Village here on Vancouver Island. And please put up your hand if you can't hear me and I'll know to restay, whatever. We are actually on the territories and live and work within an area that's an intersection of 4 First Nations, Indigenous peoples who have really allowed us to be here as good visitors in this area. So our eco village is with the Cowichan people, the Sook Nation, the Malahat, and the Pachadat people. And it's very important in Canada for us to acknowledge these things, probably everywhere in the world. This is stolen land we're on. So there's always these questions in eco villages, who owns these places? But our is in a space that is unceded. It was never granted or agreed upon. So it's a really big part of us now at our 25th anniversary, that we are looking at identity like all individuals and collectives seem to be on the planet. My name again is Brandy Gallagher, and I'm one of the original co-founders of our Eco Village, which came out of a 10-year housing collective in the city of Victoria on Vancouver Island from 1990 to 99. You'll see our house listed in the intentional communities world, and then we transformed into our eco village. So I'm going to try and screen share if that's going to work, hopefully. And am I stuck?
So the present button, and then you have a few options. You can share your screen if it's like a Google presentation and you want to it's already open on your browser. You can also upload the presentation. Sometimes that's easier for people.
Yeah, I am trying to share my entire screen, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Let me know if I lose you. I'm not used to where this is. So our eco village actually came together with a kind of motley crew of people who decided we needed to leave the city and we wanted to join ourselves into an urban setting. I don't think you can see my screen though, can you?
No. You have to click on the little screen that you see within the black box and then click the blue share button. Oh, Brandy might have frozen. Maybe while we're getting reconnected, I'll just show Neil, thanks again for these links. OUR Eco Village has a home on the web, ourecovillage.org. And I've been really impressed by the plethora of resources available on their website and all kinds of courses and programs and events. I think they took a little pause for a while, but have come back really strong with a lot of great programming. So I think of OUR as one of the more established eco-village education centers of all of the communities in North America. So it's a really good one if you're looking to learn permaculture and communication systems in community. I've also been fortunate to have visited OUR. I think I've been there twice. So that's why I can speak with it as with such good recommendation. And Brandy, I think we've lost your internet connection if you can hear me at all. Oh, yeah, there she goes. Okay. Yeah, sorry, folks. That's one of the things with some of these communities being in rural areas and us needing to rely on the strength of the internet connection to be able to make events like this possible. So I do apologize for that. And I think we'll just give it a few moments and hopefully Brandy can join again. Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, Elizabeth is writing my sympathies at difficulties navigating Zoom and any other such technology. Yeah. Okay. Well, while we're here, we can maybe wait a few minutes. If anyone has any questions or thoughts that they'd like to share, you want to go ahead and post in the comments. Be happy to hear. And it's okay too if nothing comes to mind, but I'm here as a resource. And I think I had shared earlier in the call, I'm myself in the middle of this tour visiting communities. So I feel like I've been on this whirlwind of like back-to-back presentations and tours. Oh, there's Brandy. All right, let's see.
Can you hear me again?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I don't think I'm going to risk screen sharing because I think it's just taking up all my bandwidth. Maybe
Okay.
I'm going to copy what Terry did and take you for an in-person tour instead of a digital tour. So I would tell you that we have just reached our 25th anniversary and we have a new vision at our eco village. Our vision is to awaken the dragon and to restory our collective future. And so if you know much about our eco village, you probably know that we've spent an inordinate amount of time on legal and regulatory work. We've worked hard since 1999 to create a land use zoning in Canada that set a precedent. So we're a park, we're a school, we're an organic farm, we're a residential village allowing 10 homes on site. We are allowed accommodation and food services. So our school actually has this functioning 0-mile eatery, which is behind me. And we have multiple kinds of accommodation for people, from backpackers who can camp here to dormitories for school groups to bed and breakfast for us sheets and hot water people as we age in place. But it kind of is a design to create accessibility. And in the dimensions of eco villages, we focused a lot on our social dimension, and definitely governed and created through a hybridized ownership model that we created in Canada. So we are a nonprofit community services multi-stakeholder cooperative. And you'll notice when you do legal work and you hybridize things, you get these very long names. So a bit of fun around here is we're always working to take these fractured pieces of design and how legal systems compartmentalize things and try and reorganize them back into a hybrid or a holistic model. We've taken on the Wastewater Act. We have a model demonstration gray and black water system that is created with the federal government in Canada. It's funded by them. It's then created into policy by the province that we're in British Columbia. We provide the flush. And it's actually one of the elements, all of these legal things are the elements that makes us a 25-acre regenerative living demonstration site and research educational center. So at all that 25 years of effort has had, up until the pandemic, 10,000 learner connects per year connecting through our eco village. And curiously, the pandemic, much like many places, had quite an impact here. But one of the things was to have us so aware that we spent all our time on the common good in the commons for the common people that we didn't actually take care of ourselves and work as diligently on our housing. So when we went from 10,000 folks per year interconnecting here down to being in lockdown, we've worked in a big focus to kind of design and reform ourselves. So we're in a really big transition here at our Eco Village. We're actually trying to move out of the ownership model that we created in Canada, and we're looking to create a new model. We are the home of the FOG project, how to finance, own, and govern the commons. And we worked a lot on the ownership. We worked a lot on the governance, and brought John Buck here in the early 2000s, long before people were talking about sociocracy or dynamic governance, and started working with organizations around us. But here we are now with a hybrid. We've had the loss of many things since the pandemic, and one of them is a number of our main founders and people who historically have been part of here have actually passed away. So you're going to see quite soon that our eco village is for sale. And it's a bit shocking, but it's important to think about this because we really want to pivot ourselves into a social finance model where we're not actually owned anymore, or our houses aren't owned, but where we have an access model and an Indigenous land covenant and a community land trust overlying. What we found in Canada is ownership often is something that people have as the major point of conflict or disagreement. And when there's money involved, that is often a source of litigation in a lot of communities. Farms in British Columbia are very challenged if they're land shares because we cannot finance ourselves through regular banking. And many places have lost their financial bankability in Canada. And of course, I think insurance is next challenges that we're going to have to work with. So incredible amount of beauty, incredible amount of legal work. And yet we're on the horizon of, I noticed Schumacher just closed, Schumacher College, of course, Findhorn Foundation. As the economics of these common shared spaces and educational places is shifting dramatically, we're hoping to help create a gateway where we can talk about social finance and actually crowdsource how places are held, not owned, and that we can acknowledge the rightful territory holders. So just for fun, we're in front of, oh, you can't really see in the shadow, but
We can, though. We can.
0 Mile Eatery. Our 25 acres has been a natural building school for the last 25 years. And so many of us who started the building school have had this as our playground and a place to create massive acts of beauty. This is our major gathering space, and you can see we have very large classroom buildings. These are all light clay straw. We milled waste wood or windfalls from clear cuts, and all the wood, the timber frame that you see on site is actually processed here, and it's waste to resource. Over 90% of our site is actually created through salvaged and recycled material. So a big focus on ecological footprint here. We work with a lot of engineers. We work with a lot of lawyers. It's very curious who shows up in OUR Eco Village. And I just want to say that OUR is an acronym, and it's meant to speak to this idea that we each bring a gift or a contribution, and everybody has a way to belong when you're revillaging. Everybody, whether you're 2 or 102, has a contribution. And as we bring that together, it's just a lot of project management to figure out how to grow 10 acres of food systems, how to have the kitchen, our largest meal. Hopefully I'm back.
Yes, you cut out for a moment, but we can hear you. Yeah.
I was trying to show you the dragon. I don't know if I can, but our largest meal served here was 800 people. So as we go through this, I think it's important to talk about how eco villages are aging in place and what's ahead for us. There's so much more to say about OUR. Um, but I think his is really our work is to look at the big picture in the world right now and what in the world is needed in intentional communities for mental, emotional, spiritual well-being. How do we learn to live and work together? And it's often been said that structural conflict is created if we just had really good internal structures and invisible structures, or um, not the built environment per se, but the legal and regulatory work, it would solve so much. I think our eco village is here to say it's actually solves a lot, or gives us a great platform. Much like sociocracy, it's an amazing tool, but it's not really about the structure. It's usually about the spirit of intent that we bring to it. And so, how can we be in the long game of living and working on this planet together, um, and not just rely on those structures, but start to heal into these spaces as social, political learners on the planet, trying to find a way to restore our collective future. So, what we have taken on in our vision is to awaken the dragon and work with people to look at answering that question. We're literally sculpting a 25-acre dragon on the site.
Wow.
And the dragon is our new teacher here who's come on team. Our dragon is a cob or earthen constructed dragon, much like this building. And the dragon is coming from the more than human realms to talk about climate emergency and biodiversity loss on the planet. And maybe in the mythopoetic world of storytelling, especially working with children, because we're an educational space with so many littles, middles, and bigs in age group. Speaking from a place of stats and facts does not necessarily inspire people to look at our footprint, but actually listening from a place of the mythopoetic and restoring with the dragon, that the dragon's not necessarily here to burn down our village, but has been trying to teach us something about how we're living on the planet all along. And maybe the dragon hasn't been the hoarder of great layers of gold, but has all kinds of resources that was always meant to be shared. So we're kind of playing with this. We want to have a different conversation about crisis and emergency and move it to how to hospice modernity. If folks know the work of hospicing modernity, and please find that link. There's teams of us through the University of Victoria who are working on depth education. And hospicing modernity isn't just about ripping down the systems and structures of the day so we can live the way we maybe suggest we could all live. It's about bringing the systems of the day gently to the ground while we're building the new systems and the next chapter of the collective future of the planet. So I'm going to take you for one last little walk through We have housing at the back of the land, but our common space is actually often within this eatery. So we have a teaching kitchen, we have a commercial kitchen where we mostly build everything out of what is other people's waste items. And so we're processing food in here, we're gathering, we're eating. This is some people's favorite kind of work, is all the waste tiles that normally get thrown in the landfill maybe become a waterfall up a staircase.
Wow.
And so some people's waste becomes OUR's art. And the art of living and working together might include all the people who are processing processing food. We have like a little recreation space in here. We have very large seating indoors and outdoors. And in fact, everything we do and have has layers of purpose. So we're stacking functions in every building, in every space. We've permaculturalized everything we do. We don't just have a deck for seating, it's actually our wastewater treatment system underneath. We don't just flush drinking water down the toilet here, it's actually recycled. It is the micronutrients, irrigation, and climate change adaptation strategy with the government for our food forests and drought response, wildfire response. So you can see there's layers and layers of learning. We're an immersive space. We are all learners here. We are all teachers here, regardless of our age, our ability, our background. We're tiny but mighty at the moment, and we're just about to do something really weird for the intentional community / eco village movement. I think we are actually shifting our co-op membership, and we have member shares available that are season shares. And this is something to do with these education centers and retreat centers going down. There's a lot of people who can't or choose not to live in these villages year round, or don't live in the schools year round. And we have a lot of fair weather friends who want to be here in the summer. So rather than fighting this kind of adaptive lifestyle that people have in digital nomading and so forth, we realized we actually just move with the times. And we've created 3 and 6 month shares that are going to be available next month. And this is going to be one of the ways of, quote, buying out the mortgage from the current mortgage holdings of the bank. And we'll be moving into a social finance or community finance model. There's a lot more to say about that. We have a whole lawyer's project on this again, and it's very shareable. Everything we do is for public consumption. It's not just for our eco village. And I just want to close there with a thank you. I really we are here because of all the people who have come here, and everyone who comes contributes. And so you're just hearing a tiny bit about the tens of thousands of people over 25 years that have co-created the impossible into the seemingly possible.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Brandy. Amazing. Yes, that was a lot in a short amount of time, and just like a tiny fraction of all the work and the ideas and the beauty that you've created there. And I love seeing behind you just the murals on the wall and the artwork.
That's the real song notes etched into 3 layers of natural plaster, the real song notes to Imagine. And, of course, it's probably the theme song of most eco villages and intentional communities, but you may say we are dreamers, but we're not the only ones.
Oh, yes, yes. I love that. Thank you so much. Yes, we have a message here from Patty. Brandy, I have goosebumps listening to your vision, your massive amount of work, what you have done, and now where you're going next. Wow. So just, yeah, I really want to echo that. And seeing all the buildings and structures is just bringing me back to that land and the beauty that's been created there. So yeah, we have a few comments and questions, a lot of just congratulations about the presentation. I think this works even better, walking around instead
Yeah.
of, when the weather's nice, of course, it's good. So I think there's some questions around what you had shared earlier, where you're selling OUR Eco Village, but I think I just want to clarify for people that the community and the work there is going to continue. You're not closing doors. Is that right?
We're highly at risk. It's time to say it. In January, we were informed our mortgage would not be renewed. We've never missed a payment in 25 years. We've held even with no income for 4 years during the pandemic and no ability to move forward. Our housing project was kind of held in a system breakdown in 2017. And so in theory, we would have all had most of our houses now, but our membership model failed. And it has everything to do with finance. Like we can't buy and sell our shares and bring new people in because we have a system breakdown. So we're redesigning that. And we literally have to sell the village. So we don't really even know what that means. We are working with a syndicated mortgage in Canada where people can self-direct their retirement savings plans, their RIFs, their RSPs, their tax-free savings account. We do have a US investor as well coming across the border. But we're putting together a group of investors to privately hold the mortgage as a syndicated mortgage run through a trust company. So we keep our hands out of the money. It just gets pulled, the payments get pulled out of our bank account. This we need to solve for here, but we will share this with everywhere across Canada and actually internationally. A lot of it'll be applicable.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
And we are
complicated, but I'm crossing my fingers that it goes smoothly. And yeah.
we're in desperate days, so I think it is good to put out the word. I don't
Okay.
like the idea of being desperate or urgent, and thrivability is usually founded in something else, but I think there's somewhere a balance of
Okay.
having to say, times are now and possibilities are timeless.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. Okay. Okay. Yes, heard and sorry to hear it, but yeah, definitely heard and it's good for everyone listening to note those opportunities. And I am with you in noticing the bigger institutions and eco villages and learning centers and the challenges they're going through right now and the closures. It's very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have another question here, maybe back on the more positive side. I would love to hear about the Indigenous Land Trust and how you all have been relating to the Indigenous people of the land you're on.
Yeah. I mean, really, OUR was moved from the city to this location out of a relationship with the Cowitson elders and the peoples of this area. We were told to come here. And it's curious, but it was only last year that we realized that the dragon is part of a creation story of the local Indigenous people here. And like a group of high school students created the Dragon Project. And it has grown and grown and grown as part of our design work and education work as a metaphor, but as a real thing. And now with the relationship deepening, we actually have co-op members who are from local nations and First Peoples. And some of the elders are actually incorporating their own land trusts. And land claims has never moved quickly in Canada. I don't even know the state of that in the United States, but it is a different way to actually own land, have land donated back to land back, and put covenants over it than to wait for a treaty negotiation, which take decades and decades and decades. So we couldn't give our land back because we owed money to a mortgage, but we can give ownership back. So we just moved shares back to people. And our idea is that when we're been and gone, the generations and our olders have left now. I used to be one of the youngest when I came here. Now I'm one of the olders. But we need to design for these certainly uncertain futures. How will these lands be protected in all of these spaces? Like, so much heart and love and time goes into co-creating. Like, you think about Schumacher, what is the future of a space like that? And it can't just be mowed under by bulldozers. We actually have a green burial project on site here. So we've taken land protection and end of life planning and put them together to conserve this land. And we have the remains of family and friends on the land, and neighbors and folks who've come by and have a connection because they're legacy makers. They care. And yet that wasn't enough to protect the land even. So we have to come up with longer term ways to pull these places out of the real estate market as housing and land is being fought over and polarized around more and more and more, and find ways to protect this differently.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. Even with the Green Barrel site. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for your questions. And yeah, it's just to reiterate, because there's still some more, just to clarify that things are in a point of transition and the future is not entirely clear
Yeah.
for
And
OUR.
and definitely we can carry this conversation forward if you pop onto our website, or go to info@ourecovillage.org. Pop us an email. We can continue it. If you have thoughts, ideas, or needs around the future of this place, it's a public conversation, and it's about to go into a campaign conversation. We were trying to be very kind around the banking end of things, so it doesn't come across as blaming or kind of othering to the economics of the day, and the challenges that are inherent. But we also need to get on with it. And it could be that a couple of the investors that are showing up in the next 2 weeks to solve this, and the co-op will continue to manage it. It's a more a framework that's put on title, just like a bank. So in some ways it could be very simple with the right people. In other ways, life is very uncertain these days. So we don't count our chickens on this farm until things proceed.
Yes, yes. Okay. All right. Well, wishing those right people show up at the right time. Yeah. Terry, are you still there with us? I know you said you had an event that you needed to go to.
No, it wasn't an event I needed to go to. I just wanted to show off our Craft and Chat folks because they were about to end their particular session. So I just wanted to have them have a chance to say hello to everybody.
Gotcha. Okay, and we got that. Okay, good, 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 good. Yeah. So maybe now, as we just wrap up here, we'll just carry on for a few more minutes. It's kind of nice at the end, after we've heard these different presentations from different communities, to give the two of you a chance to connect and just bounce around some thoughts from each other's presentations. And also, if anyone in the audience has any questions that you think would be applicable for both Brandy and Terry, we'd love to hear that. And also, just again, as we begin to wrap up, really appreciating our wonderful audience, and hope to see you back next month in October, always on the first Thursday, for another one of these presentations. Brandy and Terry, have you two connected before? Are you familiar with each other's communities? You're far, far away, actually.
I'm familiar with OUR Eco Village because I used to live in Vancouver, and my partner has been very interested in co-housing, and she actually met you, Brandy, once when she was living on Cortez Island at Linnea Farm. And I've been very impressed by our eco village, and it's kind of interesting because we here at Treehouse, we're at the very start of our journey. You're 25 years into your journey, and it's awe-inspiring to see what you've managed to accomplish. And it sort of gives us hope for what we can, hope and inspiration as to what maybe we can do here on the other coast.
Well, Terry and everyone at Treehouse, I would like to say it's really important to jump into this next layer of the fog research we're doing with the lawyers teams. So what you've created and where you think challenges lie, and all the feedback is going to be part of the Canadian research project that the lawyers are doing. And so please find your way into connection. And I just really want to honor the startup and everything that you've done. We have so many people who leave BC and are in Nova Scotia. I've been doing consulting work with 3 startup eco villages there. That's just me. And so there must be more people doing something and collecting around there, but there's a lot of good juice there. So I think you're in good company. And I also invite you guys and everyone on the call to go to Eco Villages Canada on Facebook and our website, and list yourself and create communication around things you're doing so people know how to participate or connect into through Eco Villages Canada as well, if they don't find you just off the mark in other ways.
Okay, great. Is that ecovillagescanada.ca? Is that the website? Okay, great. I'll put that in the chat for everyone.
Yeah, we used to have the Eco Village Network of Canada, but we've let that go. And we've been Eco Villages Canada since Gaia Education came and brought the training of trainers here for the Sustainable Development Goals and Eco Villages work, and folks from Findhorn came and we had a large meeting in Canada. So that website is new and it might not rank as high and have as much traffic, but please know it's there, and a Facebook page is there as well.
Okay, beautiful. I'm curious if you two could share a little bit what's happening from your perspective with the communities movement in Canada specifically right now. What's, are things going well? Is there support? Is there openness? Or is it dynamic?
Well, I'm curious, Terry, if you would say what had you move from one coast to the other, because I think that's part of the answer of what you're asking, Cynthia, and needs to be analyzed.
Yeah, I would say that the biggest problem is the price of property. One of the reasons that we moved from Vancouver to Treehouse is because Vancouver was becoming totally unaffordable, and there are some co-housing communities in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland, but the cost of housing even in those communities is prohibitive to pretty much anyone who isn't a millionaire. So one of the reasons that we moved to Nova Scotia and to Treehouse Village is because of the relatively low cost of it. And as you say, Brandy, cost of property is one of the major factors in creating a co-housing community these days.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a social housing crisis in many places in Canada. We're in a housing crisis in general, if not an affordable housing crisis. And then we've got climate migration things going on where people have to move on the drop of a dime. It is not attainable to farm anymore unless you are mutually resourcing with a group. Like, there are not people who are going to have a single family farm in most of the places in Canada. It's not going to be accessed financially. The skill to operate places like this is very different than it was 20 years ago. And like, farming's a full-time gig, but you're also educators and you're also trying to build your own home. You're trying to burp your baby and cook the dinner all at the same time. So what is the future? I think the future is only going to be found in the collective. If we don't find new ways to live and work together, cooperatively, ethically, and compassionately, all the rules and the models we've ever developed aren't going to hold in the future climate of where we're going, probably, at least in Canada. Um, Things are going to change quite quickly in the next 5 years, especially economically. So, with that, it's best for groups to come together as quickly as we can, work together as much as we can across the country. And, sometimes there was like financing competition, or people felt like comparative analysis between communities. And I don't think that's helpful. Talking about what that place has and what that place doesn't is kind of like a consumer-based model. It's not really a community-based model. It's you will get people who say, "Hey, I came here to check it out and I'm going to get me some community." And it's kind of like going to a nightclub or something. It's like a recreational model of um dating where you're getting checked out, and that is not really authentic relatedness in the community's movement for us historically. We're not a consumer-based product, and nor is education. So having a living learning center is, I think we need to bring it back from being co-opted into some commercialized thing and work together, and find our way through systems, pull out and tease out best practices that work for intentional communities and eco villages and co-housing, and then work together to bring them together. In the old days in the province of BC, and actually down into Washington state, Tree Bresson used to run a training for 2 years at a time, and we would send representatives from the co-housing, eco village, and intentional communities around the bioregion, and we'd get together every 8 weeks and we would co-train, and we would get facilitation and conflict res and sociocracy, like all these things. We would upgrade ourselves and we would work together, and we all knew each other's dirty laundry. So it wasn't this like, oh, you're supposed to look like a well handled, high heeled eco village. It was a realistic way to work together and help with just the themes that are true. Like there's always going to be power dynamics. There's always going to be, some of the main themes that you find in people living together. And instead of thinking they're wrong or bad, is finding really healthy ways to work with.
So you, Brandy, looking into the future, would want to see maybe more of that cooperation among the communities and quickly?
Yeah, we would love to see Eco Villages Canada populated by more people who actually want to create mutual resourcing together.
Yeah.
Like we can co-train. We have so much history in different places in the country that we could share with new places or new groups. And I think it's this thing of the generations, that each new generation or each new place wants to do it different and leave behind the old ways. But there's so much to be learned, and noticeably by the people who have lived here since time immemorial, the Indigenous peoples. Throwing the baby out with the bathwater probably isn't our best way forward.
Yeah.
I think it's finding a new way to go into deep relationship and deep education and learning at this time.
Hear, hear. Terry, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts. What do you see for the future and what's needed?
I think what's needed is sort of what Brandy's been implying. We all need, all our groups need to support each other and to encourage each other. I read a statistic somewhere that only 1 in 10 co-housing communities succeeds. And one of the reasons for that, I think, is because the groups are trying to do it alone, and it's an upward struggle. You don't get any support from government. There's here in North America, there's financial institutions know little about it, lawyers know little about it, and if you're trying to start a co-housing community, you feel that you're all alone, and it can be a bit overwhelming, and if people drop out and if you don't have the right circumstances, it's just not going to succeed. But if you have a critical mass of other communities that can help support you, and you can learn from them, and I think that's what's needed. And as Brandy said, there's a few groups here that are starting up in Atlantic Canada, and once we take a step back and breathe a bit and rest a bit, we'll be happy to help them, and maybe we can all work together to create more co-housing communities and support each other.
Great. Yes. Collaboration. Yeah. Neil put in the chat, the future is in the collective. Nice. Okay, great. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time today. I greatly appreciate it. I know you're both busy and full with your work and your communities. Yeah, I think we can wrap up here. Maybe I'll just invite if either of you have any final parting words, especially for the folks listening, many of whom are thinking of joining a community, maybe thinking about starting a community. So just anything you'd like to leave the folks who are listening with.
I think you just named it, Terry, this idea of like trying to go it alone or thinking one wants to do it different and has this brand new idea might not be the expedient route. There is so much learned in the ways of old. And I think a big part of it is relearning how to trust in community and actually trust in relationship. There's just been, such a upheaval of polarization and paradoxical frameworks of things that bringing back trust and compassion feels paramount. And so I want to raise my hands to each and every person, the elders of this area speaking the language of Hokaminam. And Hokaminam, we say Haichka, and it's thank you. So having an attitude of gratitude, just that we're alive today, just that we even have the opportunity to have this conversation, to live in a collective. It's not the chosen path by many. How privileged we are to even be able to do that. So really, hands are raised. Gratitude is a good medicine. So I think we could all use that medicine these days and finding a path forward. Haichka.
And I would just like to say I'm grateful for the chance to live in a co-housing community, and conscious of the fact that it's a privileged position, because co-housing does not mean inexpensive housing by any means, and that's something that we have to work on. We have to work on the decommodification of land. We have to work on providing housing for everyone, no matter their income, no matter their circumstances. And I think co-housing provides a good model, but there's still much that needs to be done to make it more affordable.
Yeah, a lot more work to be done, and cultivating that attitude of gratitude. I love that phrase. I'm learning it actually just recently, and I'm gonna start saying it to myself every day. So thank you both again for your time and all the work you're doing. Wonderful, wonderful. And thanks everyone for listening. Hope to see you again next time.
Thank you for all you're doing, Cynthia. You are bringing a lot of us together. So thank you for all those efforts, really.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Brandy. Thanks everybody who tuned in.
Terry, take care, Cynthia.
Okay, bye. Take care.